The 10th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m.
Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news. Once again, from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, here is your host, Andrea McMaster.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this week on Consider This. I'm Andrea McMaster. He can boast a 28-year career at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and now he's the top man at the university. Dr. John Christensen, we're going to introduce you today, this week on Consider This. He became interim chancellor last fall when former Chancellor Nancy Belk resigned amid controversy over athletic department funding. This month, he was appointed to that position officially, and he isn't short of plans. We're going to hear a lot about those plans today, and we're so glad to have you here. Honored to have you back on the show. Now it's official, and congratulations.
It is. Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for having me back, and I'm very, very excited.
Have you noticed a difference since you've been put officially into the shoes of the chancellor, since you've been filling these shoes for a while as interim chancellor?
Well, in terms of the day-to-day job, probably not. But I think there are always decisions that you feel perhaps somewhat uncomfortable about making without having absolute authority to do so, albeit President Milliken, when he talked to me in September and asked if I would consider doing this, really gave me as close to absolute authority, I think, as anyone could. He said, I want you to do the job and do it well. And so I took that literally, and here we are today.
Well, and again, it was just a couple of weeks ago that the announcement became official that you were going to be hired as the chancellor. And I want to read from the university's president, James Milliken, sharing some words when he decided that you were going to be the man for this job. He said, people praised your integrity, your openness, values, and your poise under pressure. They expressed gratitude for the work that you had done to get UNO quickly back on track and make sure that morale and momentum were not lost. Without question, we all owe John a debt of gratitude for his service to the campus over the last year. When you hear these words, what do you think?
Well, I'm humbled by comments like that. And what I know for a fact is on September 12th and every day until today, this is about teamwork on this campus. So it's nice to hear those things, but it's really about the UNO family, the UNO team that I think we should all reflect on, and I certainly do, because you can't do a job that's this complicated alone. It's that simple.
Well, this letter reflected a little bit that the staff had said that the morale of the faculty was low at this point when you began as interim chancellor. Confidence in UNO's leadership was the lowest that it had been in years. So how did you move UNO forward? How did you really get it back on track?
I think the thing that I thought about after being asked to assume the responsibility is what are people thinking? And I simply reflected on myself and how I felt. And I felt somewhat confused. I was concerned. I, to some degree, felt betrayed. And the way that you address those issues is to talk to people directly and talk about what it is and what it is we need to do to make a change. And that's exactly what I did, both on campus and in the community, is try to talk to as many people as possible, find out what they were concerned about, and let them know what I thought we could do about that. And that form of discussion and frankness with people, I think, pays dividends.
Mm-hmm. Is there still a ways to go? Is there still some hurt and some pain from the incidents that took place?
I think that's probably true, but I think that we've come a long way, and I think now that we've turned a page, so to say, in the history of the campus, that will go quickly, and people will start getting occupied with where it is that we need to go. What is it that we need to do for our students and our community? And I'm hopeful that any remaining whispers of what's happened will dissipate, certainly by the time we start the school year in the fall.
And I just want you to speak a little bit. We're not going to focus on the past here too much more in this show, but it was controversy surrounding athletic department funding.
Right.
So talk a little bit about the state of the athletic department right now. What is it like?
We've made, I think, considerable progress, but we still have issues that need to be addressed, and we are addressing those. I've said this in a couple of other forums, and I think it's important to continue to say it. This really wasn't a problem with athletics. It was a problem with administration and the management of athletics. And we have wonderful student athletes. We have terrific programs, great coaches, great staff. And so this was really an administrative problem. And I think what we've done is we've put into place internal controls which really address those administrative issues, and we're moving forward. Last year in September, we were facing about a $1.5 million deficit that had taken 4 or 5 years to grow to that size. By the time we start the year next year, or conclude this year, if you will, we will have reduced that on a permanent basis to under $1 million. And by June 30th, we will have, to the President and to the Board of Regents, a 3-year plan on balancing that budget so that we can assure stability within the department. And perhaps the most exciting news is the fact that we've hired a new athletic director, someone that I think is going to make an enormous difference in the progress of athletics as we move forward here. He arrived in Omaha yesterday, did some work, attended the Omaha Hall of Fame inaugural event last night, met with a number of community people, and left early this morning to join our baseball team in Alabama for the Division II World Series. So David Miller has hit the ground running. I thank the committee and the community for helping us to select someone of his quality, and I think the future is absolutely bright for athletics. We will sort out the fiscal side of this. It's going to take us a couple of years, but other than that, the future is tremendously bright. What people forget about is that Division II is really about student athletes, and I am always proud to say, and love to tease some of my colleagues about the fact that our grade point average for our student athletes is slightly over 3.1, which says something about this notion of student athlete. These happen to be great students who also are tremendously talented kids.
Is there still a bad taste in the mouths of some of those donors, some of those people who really were the pocketbooks behind the athletic department here at the university?
I think that's been minimized considerably, but I think yes. I mean, I think there have been some folks who probably are going to take more of a wait and see attitude. Let's see if this really does get turned around. Many, however, have said, listen, it does appear as though you've done everything you said you would do regarding athletics and internal controls, and we are back to support the programs. So there are probably a few who are taking a longer window of wait and see, but I would say most of our supporters are back in place and very excited about what's going on.
Well, when President Milliken announced that you were going to be the next chancellor of UNO, there was an applause from the faculty here at the university. In fact, President Milliken had to quiet everybody down because the applause was for so long. I'm going to ask you to boast a little bit about yourself, which is hard to do, but what skills are it that you bring to the job that makes it so, having you in this position, so appealing?
I love what I do. I'm really passionate about about this place. I'm passionate about students, and I have been privileged to work with some of the greatest people I know. And so coming to work for me is a joy, and working on behalf of others to get things accomplished on this campus has been something I've loved to do, and I think at some point that probably shows through. I think people trust me. I've been around for almost forever, and so I think people feel like they know me, they know what to expect. I think they feel as though they can trust me, and I think they believe not only in the institution as strongly as I do, but I think they believe that I have the best interest of the institution at heart, and that's critical.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. You are the first UNO chancellor to have graduated from the school, so what are the benefits to that?
I don't know for sure, but I am so excited to be the first at something. I mean, that's really great. I'm proud to be an alumnus. I got a great education here and went to, in my discipline, one of the top 2 programs in the country, and was very competitive, was able to get into that program, had tremendous skills when I got there, and so I have nothing but high regard for this institution in terms of its academic preparation in my own case. And being able to come home is always something special. But I'm not sure what it is about that other than it instills this very special respect that you have, and maybe that adds to the passion. For me, on a very personal level, this has been about maybe an opportunity to give back because I've received so much. I mean, I literally grew up at UNO, and many of my colleagues raised me academically, so to say. So it's kind of a nice feeling to be able to maybe give back in some small way.
And you taught your first class at UNO in 1978, so you also know what it's like to be not only a student, but a professor teaching in the classroom. Not to mention that you have a huge family track record here at UNO too. 3 children who are UNO graduates, one just recently here. So talk a little bit about that and offering benefits. I can see that even just talking to your children, you get a whole different perspective on what it is like to be a student on the campus today.
Well, it becomes a family, for us, it's become a family affair. And that's a really powerful thing to my way of thinking. I get to see the campus through a variety of different lenses, and so each of our children have talked to me about their experience, what they liked, what they felt was particularly powerful, and areas that they thought we needed to work on. And so it feels like I have some inside information, and I get it on a regular basis at home, both good and constructive. So that's been very special. Our youngest graduated in our May graduation, and our daughter-in-law graduated that very next day from the medical center, and will be starting her residency at the medical center in July. So we're here, they're here, and it's been a storybook experience for us.
Well, it didn't take you much time to start planning a big agenda of what you're thinking about for the future plans of UNO. I want you to go through some of those points. First off, you have to replace your former position as Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs and a permanent Vice Chancellor for Business and Finance, right? So there's a search process for those places and those positions. But other items on your agenda, you would like to recruit more students whose parents never attended college. More transfer students and more students from ethnically and racially diverse backgrounds. Why is that one of your goals?
Well, let me start at the beginning there. Actually, we're going to fill at least 4 positions, and we've filled a couple already. And we have 2 deans, 2 senior deans that will be retiring after the next academic year, I'm sorry to say. And so we will start that search in August for both of those positions, as well as for the 2 vice chancellors' positions. Met with the faculty senate. They're helping us to populate those committees so that we can be ready to go in August and move forward. John Langen in the College of Education will be retiring at the end of the next academic year, and Shelton Hendricks in Arts and Sciences will be retiring at the end of next year. And I think between the 2 of them, they have approximately 75 years of history here. And so that's going to be a great loss. But a new opportunity. We'll be able to make 4 significant hires over the course of the next academic year, and I'm excited about that. As a metropolitan institution, we have to be, I think, very, very closely linked with our community. And in our community, we find diversity, and we find a very significant population of individuals who come from families that do not have a history of college attendance. I'm one. I'm a first-generation college student, and about 58 to 60% during any given semester of our student body is made up of first-generation students. We have this enormous opportunity in the community right now. Community leaders have come together. The Bright Futures Initiative is going to be an initiative that fits with that agenda very well, trying to assist children in poverty, not only through the birth to K-12, through that experience, but then on to college. And I think UNO needs to be a player in that. And these will be kids from underrepresented groups, kids from situations that would be defined as being poverty situations, as well as first-generation kids. And so in being sensitive to our community, that necessarily becomes a population that we need to be very interested in, and I think working very hard to bring here to UNO.
And what's involved in that recruitment? I can imagine you're seeking students who might not even have the finances to attend college, and that's why a family member never has.
That's right. Jim Freeman is someone who's been very instrumental in helping us. Jim is a former principal, inner city principal in Omaha. He now is the director of our multicultural affairs program and knows the community and knows that population well. We need people like that to help us to touch base, to connect. We also need to grow and deepen our relationship with our K-12 partners, our schools. We've had a long history of partnership with the school districts. It needs to get deeper, and we need to have them help us to identify those youngsters early in their educational experience so that they can start to get into that pipeline that leads to having the proper qualifications to be at the university. And I'm not talking about freshman year, I'm talking about at latest 7th grade, probably upper elementary, where we need to start helping kids focus on what's going on. We have a joint project right now with Metropolitan Community College where we have a refrigerator-sized poster that talks about at every grade level what you can do as a family to start preparing to ultimately get into higher education. We have that, and it's being published in Spanish as well as in English, so that families who've never had the opportunity to be involved with the university or post-secondary education start to get a feel for what do I need to think about, what are the questions I should ask, where's the help at.
That's a great idea. transform UNO into a 12-month campus is another one of your goals, steering it away from the traditional schedule. And I know when you say that to some, they say, oh, my summers, I love those summers. But why are you even thinking about this?
Well, I think that public institutions are going to be confronted in the future, as we have been here in the recent past, with fiscal challenges. The resources that we have, we need to use, I think, to the utmost. And it seems to me that, as I've characterized it, we are a 9-month institution in a 12-month world, and we need to get in sync with our community and our student needs. And you're right, some people will react to that and feel funny about it, but what I'm thinking about is that we have an operation which allows students to participate year-round should they choose to want to do that. For any number of reasons, to get on to professional programs more quickly, perhaps to catch up, and perhaps to minimize debt load, for example. But it's really all about students making the curriculum available so that they have every opportunity possible. We would probably have faculty in situations that ordinarily would teach fall and spring who might now have the freedom to say, you know what, I'll be teaching in the spring and the summer. And we will have some who might teach summer, fall, and some who might teach the more traditional sort of schedule. As we engage more with the community, they don't stop on May 5th or May 10th. Business goes on. The community where we place our interns, our partners in everything that we do really operate on a 12-month schedule, and yet we kind of shut down and say we'll see you in September, and that doesn't work very well in terms of the student experience, nor does it necessarily work well for our partners. So from that point of view, I think it makes a certain amount of sense. And from an efficiency point of view, and it's back to the resource issue, we have our staff here all year round. The problem is, or the issue is, we don't have a lot going on in the summer, and yet the buildings are cooled, the classrooms are available, and the staff is here, but we're not using it very wisely. And so I think we have an obligation to at least explore the possibility of doing this.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. I want you to really hit on why a metropolitan university is unique. Finally, your last goal that you stated when you accepted this position was partner with Omaha companies and city business leaders. So I know that's one of your goals, but you've also mentioned, and you've also worked in the past with the university really reaching out to the community,
right,
and the undeserved. And also what role really does the university play in the community in general?
Right. For me, a metropolitan institution is a collection of considerable talent and expertise with respect to faculty and staff. And we are located in the center of our community. It seems to me to have missed the boat, so to say, if we do not bring that expertise and talent to bear in the community to address issues and concerns that are a part of that community. So in one sense, it's logistically obvious how a metropolitan university might differ from a residential university, which is somewhat logistically apart from its community. If we really care about our students and their educational experience, that practical experience and learning and opportunity that's available to them in our community, if we can partner effectively, is something we should be obliged to do, and I think gives our students a tremendous advantage in terms of career opportunities. And you only need to talk to students who have done internships and so on, and they will tell you, wow, it's one of the greatest learning experiences I've ever had. So it's the intimacy that we have between the community and the university, and it works the other way. And that is, there is tremendous energy and expertise at ConAgra and Union Pacific and Mutual of Omaha and OPPD. And if we have a partnership, we should be able to and do capture that expertise to bring it onto campus as well. So the beauty of this relationship in a metropolitan institution is really about that partnership and the intimacy of an academic entity and a business entity coming together.
Okay. What do you think your greatest challenge on campus is going to be?
I think the greatest single challenge that we're probably going to face in the next 5 years will be stabilizing the resources for a campus, while at the same time trying to create capacity to grow our campus so that we can continue to meet the needs of the community. So it really is a combination of stability and accommodating growth by creating capacity.
You know, this production today, the show Consider This, it's unique because you have a bunch of students, our viewers
Right.
can't see that, but a bunch of students working on this production
Right.
and behind the cameras here. And so I know that, this is great. It's wonderful. It's what the university is about. What do you think when you look out and see this? And what do you hope, how do you hope that the students see you as a chancellor of their university?
Well, I hope they see me as a friend and someone who cares very much about them. When I look out here, and I had a chance to meet every student before this started, I hope that they appreciate this opportunity to learn on the job, so to say. And I am just so very proud of our student accomplishments, and they're perhaps going to be sitting in our chairs at some time in the near future for me, in the distant future for you, hopefully, and that's what it's all about.
Well,
turning
we're
over.
so glad that you could be here today. Thrilled to hear what you have in mind for the future of UNO. Dr. John Christensen, the Chancellor of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. And thanks for watching.
Consider This is an issues
Thanks.
and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at unotv.unomaha.edu. If you'd like to share your comments about this show, call UNO TV at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours.
The 10th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m.